day.
Yeah.
Was the reality that people are facing, which is why we are trying to elevate this question and concern and people's rights to a level beyond the state of Ohio, the United States of America, into more of a world court, a world opinion, and bring it to a bigger audience, and so that people can understand and people can figure out how to move there with the help of the United Nations, hopefully, and the help of other countries. And so
It's vital because it's a global problem. We are not just affected by this problem in Ohio. We are not just affected by this problem in the United States. So it is a global problem. So we need to have global awareness. But all politics is local, and there have to be local efforts too. We have to be doing this at a variety of levels, and no one approach is right. There has to be multiple approaches that you're used to attack the monster.
And then how do you deal with the fear that people were talking about today? That not the fear of the people in this room. They were all quite elegant, I think, and articulate about what was happening, and they were brave enough to speak out. But most, if not many, not most, said that their neighbors were fearful to speak out. That the reason we're going where we're going with these tribunals is to give people a sense that you do not have to fear. There is fear. There is always fear when you're opposing a large David and Goliath fight. There's always fear. But how do you answer the question in the short term for those folks who unfortunately aren't in this room, but are fearful of speaking up and speaking out, although they agree 100% with people in this room?
You would have to be mentally defective not to be afraid. There is something to fear out there. We've heard it today, the fear of becoming a refugee because you can't live on your own land. How could you face that without feeling some fear? What can I say other than the fact that when people go to war, they're afraid. But they do it. And they take risks because there's a struggle to be won. So it's easy to say, as Franklin Delano Roosevelt did, you have nothing to fear but fear itself. That sounds real easy, but the fear is real, but we have to be able to act even in the face of fear.
We've seen a lot of that today.
A lot of brave people who are working in this area have demonstrated their bravery beyond what I have been challenged to.
So you mentioned that one of the problems is that corporations have been given human rights within our legal system.
Correct.
Civil rights. And what do you think is the most important way for us to fight that problem?
Yeah. There are two general approaches that at least I am aware of, and there may be more. But one is obviously a national movement, and there are such national movements under the aegis of Move to Amend and a number of other groups who are attempting to essentially enlist legislators to support a resolution in Congress for a constitutional amendment. And there are about 28 supporters at the present time in Congress of precisely such a move. The other way, because it's easy to look at that and say, well, 28 is kind of a small chunk out of the number of representatives in the House, and what are your chances with the others? That is a reasonable question. But again, it's worthwhile pursuing that. But it's also worthwhile pursuing this, in my view, on the local level. And that is to pass initiatives, and cities have done this, and we're working on this in the counties, to be able to say that we have the right to clean air and water, and because we have that right, then no one has the right to do activities which impinge upon those rights, including fracking. And no corporation which is in violation of our new law that says you can't frack is to be awarded any corporate rights if they're in violation of our right. That's a challenge which will have to be worked out ultimately in the courts, legally. What we hope is that there can be at least a discussion that is forced in terms of whether we have rights to air, water, clean air, water, and soils, and therefore can prohibit fracking, or whether corporations somehow have more rights in order to be able to profit. I have some faith that even that people we would not necessarily consider our allies would say, look, you have to have human rights over corporate rights when you've got the nitty-gritty against one another. And possibly there's some hope in pursuing that in that avenue. We don't know. But that is another avenue of pursuit.
And that's what our next speaker, I bet, our next witness is gonna talk about too.
Thank you.